Hey guys, today we're in the book of Numbers, chapter 33. So chapter 33 can be easily divided into two sections. One, a review, and another, a preview. So we see that Moses is going to look back for most of the chapter, and then he will look forward at the end. And so in chapter 33, verse 1, in the ESV version, it says, these are the stages of the people of Israel. You can just use that word as places, right? Places. Moses is about to name 42 places or cities that Israel has went through, starting in Egypt and ending exactly where he's at. Outside of Jericho on the Jordan side at a place called Shittim. And so he's just basically going to give us some stations or some blocks of movements that they have done. Some of these places, a lot of these places, we have already read in the book of Exodus, in the book of Numbers. Some of them we have not read. We'll get more detail in the book of Deuteronomy about some of these places. But some of these places we simply have not read and will not read. And so Moses is just accounting, reviewing for these people, for Israel, what God has done over the last 39 some odd years, right? And we're not going to go over every place. Some of them are important. Some of them we don't know about. But I'm just going to break them down in sections for you. So starting in verse 3, we see a section, the first section, from Exodus 12 to 16. Right? So it starts out, they set out from Ramesses in the first month. Ramesses is known as Egypt. Now don't get misled by the name Ramesses, okay? I know Ben-Hur, they made the Ten Commandments. If you're younger, you've seen The Prince of Egypt that Disney did. Both of those put Ramesses as the Pharaoh, okay? The name Ramesses, as it's translated in your English Bible, but in the Hebrew Bible, it is not called Ramesses. It is called Rama'es, or the place of Ra, the god of Egypt, right? And so he's just using this as a blanket name of Egypt. Ra is like the main chief god, right, of Egypt. So they leave out of Egypt and they go all the way until verse 10. So they go all the way to the Red Sea. And so they're leaving Egypt. They get to the Red Sea. Starting in verse 11, we get the second group of names, which is Exodus chapter 16 through 19. As well as Numbers 20 through 21, okay? So, I'm sorry, Numbers 10 through 11. So, Exodus 16 through 19, Numbers 10 through 11, and we get some places here. So, we see the wilderness of Sin, we see Dabka, Alush, we see some of these places going on. Then, starting in verse 18, we get another block of names. And a lot of these names, we don't really know what they are, where they came from. These are places that they went to that just are not in the book of Exodus, Numbers, or Deuteronomy. And so they go through them. Starting in verse 25, we get another block of names, which can be found, most of them can be found in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 10. We'll get there in 2 weeks. And so we go all the way through until verse 32. 32 starts a new block of names, and that is recalled in Numbers 20 through 21. And we go through some of these places, including Kadesh, Mount Hor, and that takes us all the way down to Zalmanoah. And then we start 42. Verse 42 starts another block or another stage that Israel is at, and that talks about in Numbers 21 and 22. And so, of course, they talk about this, and this takes them all the way up to where they are now, and outside of the mountains of Abarim, which is Mount Nebo. And so they're in that valley camped in Shittim, looking at the Jordan River, looking across the Jordan River, and seeing Jericho and seeing the huge mountain range that kind of runs the middle of Israel. And so that's what they're looking at. So this was Moses looking back. Remember what God has done. But starting in verse 50, look what God will continue to do, or what he's going to do. And so the Lord spoke to Moses in the plain of Moab, and he says, tell Israel that when you pass over the Jordan into the land of Canaan, then you shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you, destroy the figured stones, destroy the metal images, and demolish all the high places. What's interesting about these verses is that in Hebrew, there's really just an emphasis on 4 words. And so God says, when you come into the promised land, you will drive out, you will destroy, and you will demolish. These are the 4 main words that are there in the Hebrew language. And so we get a concept of what God wants to do. When they go into the land, it's not just entering into an oasis and now they're sitting behind underneath palm trees and drinking out of coconuts and just enjoying life. No, they still have a job. They are to drive out, to destroy, and demolish, to wipe out all things that are unholy, right? God is holy. He cannot be around things that are unholy. So they need to wipe out that which is unholy so that God can come into the promised land, that God can move along with them. And so they're going to come in and do those things. And we see in verse 54 kind of an ultimatum, right? This idea. God says, here's what you need to do. And he says, verse 54, you shall inherit the land by lot according to your clans. If you drive out, destroy, and demolish, then you will inherit the land by your tribes, by your families. But, 55, if you do not drive out the inhabitants, if you do not destroy, if you do not demolish, then those of them who you let remain shall be as barbs in your eyes and thorns in your side. You know when you get a scratch on your eye and, oh, it's so irritating? Imagine a barb, a thorn in your eye. That's what he says. If you don't do what I say, sure, you'll take the land, but those people will be like a scratch, like something in your eye, like just trying to get out. It's just going to always irritate you and bug you. And that's exactly what happens. Israel will take the land. They will not drive out all the people. And for the rest of the Old Testament, Israel will suffer the consequences of the people they left in the land, that they did not obey God. And so he says, if you do this, they're going to suffer. Verse 56, and I will do to you as I thought to do to them. He says, if you leave them, they're going to be a barb in your eye. They're going to be a thorn in your flesh. But also, if you leave them and you don't listen to me, I will drive you out of the promised land as I want to drive out all of those who are unholy, all of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Girgashites, all these people, right? And so basically God gives them an ultimatum, but it's also prophetic. If you don't do this, I will drive you out. And we will see, as we continue to read through the Old Testament, that God does that multiple times. He allows the Assyrians to come down in 722 and to drive out the 10 northern tribes of Israel and to spread them across the world. And then in 586, he allows the Babylons to come in and to take the south in the middle region of Israel and to take them as captive all the way back to modern day Iraq and Iran in Babylon, that they would be taken away. So because of their sin, God will drive them out. The same God is telling Israel right now, you need to drive out those who do not know me, those who do not adhere to my word, and because you need to drive them out because they are unholy. And God says, if you don't do it, you will become unholy and I will have to drive you out. God is holy, we are not. We've learned from the book of Leviticus, holy and unholy cannot touch. So God's not going anywhere, so those who are unholy must be driven away, whether they are enemies of God or whether they are called by God, but they don't have the faith in God. Holy and unholy, that's the only thing that matters. I hope that makes a little bit more sense as you're reading that, a review and a preview, and we will see you tomorrow in chapter 34. God bless.